My delusional GF mocked. I'd rather stay single forever than marry a guy in work boots. I calmly replied, then stay single. 2 months later, she was jobless, humiliated, couch surfing, and begging for a second chance. Hey Reddit, so I never thought I'd end up writing something like this, but let's just say I learned the hard way that some people only love the version of you they can show off. What followed was chaos, lawsuits, lies, and karma doing what it does best. Buckle up. It's a story about building something real after watching everything fake collapse. I, David, 37 male, stone mason, custom home builder. I build houses for a living. Literally. I spend my days setting stone, measuring walls, and making other people's dream homes look like magazine covers. It's not glamorous, but it pays well. I've got a few properties, no debt, and a reputation for being the guy who doesn't cut corners. That's my thing. Solid work, solid life, no nonsense. Then came Lisa, 32 female. She was polished, confident, and had that kind of presence that made everyone else in the room feel like background noise. Within a few months of dating, she moved in with me. I'm not the type to play guessing games. If someone's in my life, they're in it fully. So I gave her a key. Let her use my credit card for groceries. Told her to make herself at home. I wasn't worried. She seemed responsible, respected my work, and pitched in with bills and everything. And I liked feeling like we were building something together. Around that time, she landed a job at some high-end skincare company downtown. Just a secretary gig, but you'd think she was running the whole empire the way she talked about it. It's not just skincare, David. It's luxury science, she said once while showing me a moisturizer that cost more than my truck's monthly insurance. I teased her about it, called her Miss CEO. She smirked and said, "Hey, I'm moving up fast. You'll see." That's when the shift started. At first, it was tiny things. She'd come home dressed like she was about to film a commercial, hair perfect, perfume strong enough to knock out a raccoon, and start telling me how her boss just can't function without her. And I was proud of her hustle, honestly. But then she started acting different. One morning, I was heading out for a site inspection, lacing up my steel-toe boots, when she wrinkled her nose and said, "You should really leave those in the garage, babe. They make the house smell industrial." "Yeah," I said. "They smell like they pay the bills." She laughed, but it was that type of laugh that meant she didn't find it funny. She'd say things like, "Manual work ages people faster. You should get into the management side." I told her I liked working with my hands. She smiled and said, "That's sweet, but someday you'll want to evolve." Evolve. Like I was a caveman with a hammer. But I didn't take it personally at first. I figured it was just her being image conscious. She was hanging out with her company's sales reps, girls who wore designer heels and carried handbags that could pay off a car loan. She probably wanted to fit in. I got it. I even told her to go for it. Dress nice, chase success, whatever made her feel good. Meanwhile, I was sketching blueprints for a house we'd been talking about. She wanted something modern but cozy, whatever that meant. She'd walk by sometimes, peek at my drafts and say, "You're amazing, babe. No one works as hard as you." Funny thing about hindsight, it shows you how blind you were. After she started working, she changed her morning routine. Used to be coffee and lazy conversation before she left for the day. Now it was full-blown rehearsals. Makeup, perfume, selfies, sometimes half an hour choosing which handbag fit the company culture. She'd leave without even saying bye sometimes. Too busy answering work messages. Then came the tone. That tone. The one that turns compliments into critiques. She'd say, "You work so hard, babe. I just wish you didn't always look so tired." Or, "You'd look amazing in a proper suit. You know, something less construction-y." I'd grin and say, "Yeah, I'll wear a suit when I'm burying someone. They're the same level of comfort." She'd roll her eyes and mumble something about me not taking image seriously. Still, I kept telling myself she meant well, that she was trying to make me better. It's wild how entitlement hides behind good intentions. She wasn't malicious, at least not obviously. She just started carrying herself like she was above me. She'd tell her coworkers her boyfriend builds custom homes. But from the way she said it, you'd think I laid bricks for pocket change. I even caught her exaggerating about our company once. Like she had a stake in it. Looking back, that was the start of the delusion. Lisa wasn't trying to be a partner. She was trying to be seen as something bigger by using me as the backdrop. And I was too busy drawing her dream home to notice I was building it for the wrong person. It started subtle, like one of those hairline cracks in concrete you barely notice until the whole wall gives. Lisa began rebranding me, as she called it. At first, I thought she was just being playful. "You know, babe," she'd say while brushing her hair in the mirror, "you should start calling yourself a developer." It sounds more high-end. I laughed. High-end? Lisa, I literally lay stone with my own hands. She rolled her eyes. Yeah, but it's about presentation. People respect developers. Masons sound like guys who fix sidewalks. Right, I said, because fixing sidewalks would be a tragedy. She smirked, that kind of smirk that told me she thought she was coaching me toward greatness. To her, everything was a performance. A few weeks later, she invited me to one of her company dinners. Just a small thing, she said. We're celebrating the new product launch. Translation: a bunch of people pretending their overpriced face cream was curing world hunger. Her co-workers were exactly what you'd expect. People who say, let's circle back in real life. I shook hands, made small talk, kept it simple. Things were going fine until one of the higher-ups asked Lisa, so, what does your boyfriend do? Without missing a beat, she said, oh, he's a real estate developer. I blinked. Developer? I repeated, half laughing. That's a fancy way to say I build stuff with my hands. The guy chuckled awkwardly. Lisa's smile froze, like she wanted to melt into the carpet. Well, she said quickly, he manages projects and does custom builds. It's basically the same thing. Yeah, I said, except developers usually sit in offices while I'm out there actually making things exist. The table laughed politely, but Lisa didn't. She gave me that sideways look, the kind that said, shut up before I throw this wine in your face. On the way home, she was quiet. I knew that quiet. It wasn't sadness. It was brewing annoyance. Sure enough, halfway through the drive, she sighed and said, you could have just gone with it. You don't have to correct me every time I'm trying to make you sound good. I sound fine, I said. You're the one who seems embarrassed to say I work for a living. She crossed her arms. That's not it. It's about perception. You're not just a laborer. You run a business. You're successful. I'm trying to elevate you. I chuckled. I don't need elevating. I'm not an app update, Lisa. She groaned and looked out the window. You're impossible. Nah, I said, grinning. I just like being real. You should try it sometime. She didn't talk the rest of the ride. I honestly thought that was the end of it, but nope. That dinner just kicked off her Fix David campaign. Suddenly, my perfectly fine truck was too rugged. My clothes were too plain. My job was too physical. She started sending me links to $300 shirts. It's not about the price, she said. It's about the image. The image of what? I asked. A guy pretending to hate sweat? She sighed. You don't get it. No, I do. You want a boyfriend who matches your imaginary lifestyle? Not the one you're actually living. Her jaw tightened. You're being dramatic. I grinned. Yeah, that's your department. The more she tried to shape me, the more I leaned into being myself, mostly to annoy her. She asked if I could at least park a little further from the restaurant so her coworkers wouldn't see the truck. I said sure, then parked it right in front, engine running, dust still kicking up. Petty? Maybe. Satisfying? Absolutely. But underneath the jokes, I could feel something changing. She used to brag about me, how I built homes from the ground up. Now she just called me busy with projects, like she didn't want to admit she was dating a man who used a hammer. The funny thing? The life she was ashamed of was the one paying for hers. I started watching her differently. Every word, every fake laugh at someone else's joke, every time she dropped a "we" when talking about my business. It was all theater, and I was just a prop she was polishing for her own show. So I smiled, stayed calm, and kept building. But not for her anymore. I'd already started building something else. Something stronger than any house I'd ever designed. Boundaries. And as I sat there sketching new plans, I laughed to myself, muttering under my breath, guess I'm the wrong brand of man. A week later, Lisa's best friend Sarah got married. It was supposed to be the event of the year, according to Lisa, which already told me everything I needed to know. She'd been talking about it for months. What she'd wear, who'd be there, the networking opportunities. It wasn't a wedding to her, it was a red carpet moment. Don't wear those, she said that morning, pointing at them like they were toxic waste. Lisa, I said, tying the laces. They're new. I literally bought them yesterday. They're still boots. Right, I said, standing up. And I'm still me. She rolled her eyes so hard I thought she'd strained something, but she didn't argue further. Probably didn't want to risk me making a scene before her big day. Not her wedding, mind you, Sarah's. But you wouldn't know it from how Lisa acted. The ceremony was massive. I walked in, saw the crowd, polished, corporate, glittering, and knew I stuck out like a coffee stain on silk. Still, I played it cool, smiled, shook hands, complimented the venue. I've worked on mansions smaller than that place, but I didn't say a word. I was there for Lisa, not to flex. She, on the other hand, was in full performance mode. Laughing too loud, smiling too wide, constantly checking her reflection in her phone. You'd think she was auditioning for a commercial. When dinner started, we sat at a round table with a few of her old college friends and their spouses. The conversation was exactly what I expected. Careers, vacations, whose kid got into what private school. I just listened, throwing in a comment here and there. Nothing fancy. Then it happened. One of the husbands, I think his name was Mark, looked at Lisa and said, "So, you two been together a while now, huh? When's the big day?" Lisa laughed. Not the cute kind, the performative one. That laugh she used when she wanted attention. "I'd rather stay single forever than marry a guy in work boots," she said, raising her glass like it was a punchline. The table erupted. Her friends shifted awkwardly. One even leaned over and said, "You're terrible, Lisa," in that fake friendly way women do when they secretly mean it. I didn't laugh. I didn't frown either. I just sat there, still, drink in hand, watching her bask in her own arrogance. She looked at me like she expected me to play along, maybe make a self-deprecating joke. Instead, I smiled slowly and said, "Good thing then. Wouldn't want you to scuff your heels stepping into a real life." The table went dead silent. One guy coughed. Lisa's smile froze mid-expression. I finished my drink, set the glass down, and stood up. "Y'all have a great night," I said casually. "Beautiful wedding, by the way." And I walked out. No yelling, no dramatics, just done. As I crossed the ballroom, I heard her call after me. "David, what the hell are you doing?" But I didn't stop. I just kept walking. Halfway down the road, my phone started lighting up. Texts from Lisa, one after another. "Are you serious right now? You're embarrassing me." "It was a joke, David. You're being dramatic. You could have handled that better instead of walking out like a child." I didn't respond. Just turned the phone face down on the passenger seat. By the time I got home, I'd already made up my mind. I was done. Not need space done. Not we should talk later done. I mean officially, emotionally, spiritually done. You can fix a crack in a wall, you can't fix rot. Lisa wasn't a bad person. She was just the kind that measures value by how others perceive you. And I wasn't going to be her accessory anymore. I grabbed my duffel bag, tossed in a few clothes, and drove out to my cabin in the hills. The same cabin I built myself 10 years ago when I started my company. No fancy furniture, no decorations, just quiet. Lisa didn't want a partner. She wanted a prop, someone to stand next to her and make her look more successful. And maybe, for a while, I played the part well. The next morning, my phone was still blowing up. Voicemails, texts, missed calls. She'd gone from defensive to desperate. "Please just call me back." It wasn't overreacting. It was waking up. I guess to her, the biggest crime wasn't being disrespected. It was losing face. Lisa could keep her social ladder. I'd keep my foundation. And for the first time in months, I actually liked what I was building. The next morning, I woke up with zero emotion, just clarity. For the first time in that entire relationship, I wasn't trying to figure out what she meant or how to fix things. I knew exactly what needed to be done. I made 3 calls before breakfast. First, my lawyer. "Hey, Terry," I said casually, sipping coffee. "Need you to update the file. Remove Lisa from all access. Cards, utilities, the works." He paused. "You sure you want to do this now?" "Already did it in my head last night," I said. Second, the bank restricted the shared account. I'd opened it months ago for couple expenses. Apparently, her definition of couple expenses included $400 skincare serums and overpriced brunches. No yelling, no pettiness. Just surgical precision. By noon, I drove back to the house. Lisa was at work, pretending to be the company's next CEO, so I had time. I walked through the place once. Every room, every wall, every corner we'd picked paint for. Funny how empty a house feels when the illusion of love fades. I grabbed a notepad and wrote a short letter. Straightforward, no emotion, just facts. "Lisa, utilities stay on for 30 days. Don't turn my kindness into a shopping spree. Credit cards are deactivated. My lawyer's contact is below for any questions. Best of luck finding what you're looking for. David." Short, clean, cold, maybe, but necessary. I left it on the kitchen counter beside her favorite mug, the one that said "Boss Babe." The irony almost made me smile. Then I walked to my office, opened the safe, and stared at the custom ring I'd spent weeks designing. It was perfect. Sleek, elegant, built for the version of Lisa I thought existed. I shut the box, locked it away, and didn't look back. By the time she got home that evening, I was long gone. That's when the call started. At first, it was the usual. "David, please call me back. You can't just leave like that. We need to talk. You're overreacting." It was a joke. Then the tone shifted. You're being dramatic. You can't kick me out over a little joke. Wow, so you can't handle a woman with class? I ignored them all. When the calls didn't work, she switched to texts, then emails, then voicemails, each one more desperate than the last. By day 3, she'd gone full PR mode. Lisa posted a long status on her social media, something like, "Sometimes people just can't keep up with your growth. Don't dim your light for a man who's stuck in his comfort zone." Subtle, right? She added a picture of herself at a rooftop bar, drink in hand, with a caption about independence and leveling up. The comments rolled in fast, her friends hyping her up with "Yas Queen" and "He couldn't handle you anyway." I saw it, chuckled, and went back to reviewing blueprints. But here's the thing about the internet. It remembers who was in the room. A guy named Johnny, one of the husbands who'd been at that wedding table, commented under her post, "Didn't you say you'd rather stay single than live with a guy in work boots? Pretty sure he's the one who walked out on you." Boom. Instant silence. Then came the roasting. Strangers jumped in. Some wrote, "Imagine mocking your hardworking man and crying when he leaves." And sis, he dodged a bullet. Within an hour, the post turned into a digital bonfire. She deleted it before sunset. By the next morning, her account was private. I didn't say a word. Didn't gloat. Didn't text. Didn't even mention it to anyone. I just went back to work like nothing happened. That's the thing most people don't get. Silence isn't weakness. It's power. You don't need to argue when the truth's already playing out on a public stage. Lisa, on the other hand, couldn't stand the silence. She needed noise, validation, drama. My calmness drove her insane. She sent another text, this time longer. "You made me look stupid. You walked out and let everyone think I'm the villain. You don't even care about the time we had." I read it once and set the phone down. Months of pretending, performing, and packaging a fake image wasn't love. It was branding. She wanted a man who made her look important. I wanted a woman who made life simple. Neither of us got what we wanted. By day 5, I stopped checking my messages entirely. Instead, I threw myself into work. My crew noticed something was different. "You good, boss?" one of the guys asked. "Never better," I said, lifting a piece of stone. "Just decided to stop building for the wrong client." They laughed. They thought I was joking. I wasn't. I worked longer hours that week, but it didn't feel like work. I was lighter, free. There's something peaceful about doing your job without anyone trying to rebrand you. No one telling you to change your truck, your shirt, your life. Just you, the tools, and the quiet rhythm of progress. A few people asked what happened between us. I told them the truth in one sentence. She didn't like that I was comfortable being myself. No one needed more explanation. Lisa probably expected me to chase her, to argue, to beg her back just so she could reject me dramatically. But I didn't give her that satisfaction. I didn't send a single text, didn't stalk her socials, didn't mention her name again. That's what real closure looks like. Not burning bridges, but removing the map entirely. By the end of that month, my house was spotless, her things gone, and her number blocked. No breakdowns, no post-breakup drinking, no dramatic playlists, no what-ifs, just quiet. The kind of quiet that says, "This time, you did it right." And as I sat in my office one evening, the sun setting behind the half-finished blueprint on my desk, I smiled to myself. No drama, no chaos, just peace. The kind that can't be bought, faked, or filtered. That peace lasted exactly 6 days. I was in my office reviewing blueprints and sipping coffee when the front door slammed open hard enough to rattle the glass. My assistant peeked around the corner, eyes wide. David? She's here?" Of course she was. Lisa stormed in like she was delivering a court summons. Mascara running, sunglasses on top of her head, and a bag that looked like it had been chosen purely for intimidation. "You're unbelievable," she shouted before I could even say hi. "You think you can just vanish from my life and leave a note like I'm your intern?" I stayed seated, calm, collected. If peace had a face, it was mine. "Morning, Lisa." "Don't morning me," she snapped. "Do you have any idea how cruel that was? You embarrassed me in front of everyone at the wedding. You blocked me. You shut me out. And for what? Because of a joke?" I leaned back in my chair, hands behind my head. "You said you'd rather be single. I'm just giving you what you asked for." Her jaw dropped. "It was sarcasm, David. I was joking. You're so sensitive," I said, smirking. "You keep using that word, it's about time to start getting creative." Her voice cracked as she tried to balance crying and yelling. "You're immature. You're throwing away something real because you can't take a little banter." "Nah," I said quietly. "I'm just done pretending." She froze. For a second, it looked like she was actually processing it. Then she scoffed, shaking her head. You'll regret this. You think your little alpha silence act makes you look tough? You'll realize what you lost when you see me with someone better. I smiled. If he exists, good luck to him. He'll need it. That hit a nerve. She grabbed her bag, glared at my assistant like she was part of a conspiracy, and stormed out the way she came in. I didn't chase her. I just turned back to my computer and got back to work. That's the thing about entitled people. They can't stand it when you don't feed their drama. That night, my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I ignored it twice before finally picking up. David, it's her mother, the voice said, sharp and commanding. You've made quite a mess, haven't you? I leaned back, already knowing where this was headed. Evening, ma'am. She's devastated, the woman continued. You men and your pride. Women say foolish things sometimes. You're supposed to forgive them. Yeah, I said. And men finally learned to stop funding them. Silence. Then a gasp, followed by a click. That was the last time I heard from her mother. I figured that was the end of it. A clean break, a dramatic outburst, and done. But Lisa wasn't built to let things go quietly. About a week later, one of my subcontractors walked into my office with his phone. Boss, you might want to see this. It was a forum post on a local community page, posted by an anonymous user, but written in a tone I knew way too well. Be careful hiring certain builders in town. Some use cheap materials, cut corners on safety, and overcharge clients. I worked with one personally, and trust me, looks can be deceiving. The post didn't name me directly, but it didn't need to. The details were specific enough. Locations, project hints, even a subtle jab about dusty boots and fake charm. Lisa. I could practically hear her smug typing while sipping a latte. I didn't respond. I didn't even call her. I just waited. Within a few hours, the post started getting comments. Most were people asking who she meant. A few guessed names. Then one comment showed up that flipped the entire script. This post is about David R. I'm one of his long-term clients. He built 2 of my homes. Every permit was clean, materials top-notch, and he's one of the most transparent contractors I've ever met. Whoever wrote this is lying. And badly. The comment came from a local business owner I'd worked with for years. The type whose word actually carried weight in the community. People jumped on it fast. Yeah, my cousin hired him too. Works solid. Lying about a builder online? That's low. Let me guess. Ex-girlfriend? I laughed when I read that last one. By the next morning, the post was flooded with replies roasting her. Someone even posted a screenshot of her old public Instagram, the same one she'd used to brag about dating a successful home builder. That sealed it. Within 24 hours, the post was deleted and her account disappeared. Word travels fast in small towns, especially when you try to smear someone who literally built half of it. A few days later, one of my suppliers called. Hey, you'll never believe who called me asking about our billing info? Lisa? I said. He chuckled. Yup. She wanted to know how much you actually pay for stone. Said she was doing research. I told her to get a life. That call made my day. Meanwhile, my business was thriving. The online drama actually gave me free publicity. People wanted to see what all the fuss was about. New clients called. Old ones rebooked. The irony couldn't have been sweeter. Lisa, on the other hand, got hit where it hurt most. Her reputation. The skincare company found out about her little smear post after someone forwarded it to HR. Someone forwarded her post to HR with screenshots tying it to me by name. Turns out their luxury brand image didn't pair well with employees starting internet rumors. She didn't get fired exactly, but asked to step away to focus on personal matters. Translation, demoted with a side of humiliation. A few weeks later, word got around she doubled down on her attitude, snapped at a regional manager's assistant, and mouthed off to HR. That step away turned into a full goodbye. Quiet firing, nice and neat. Did I feel bad? Not even a little. You don't get sympathy points for burning your own bridges. My assistant asked one morning if I'd seen the apology she posted later. Something vague about growth and learning to be kinder. I told her I didn't care. I'm building homes, not monitoring adult tantrums. Lisa probably thought she'd destroy my name. All she did was remind everyone why I walked away. The funniest part? A few weeks later, one of her old friends messaged me for a quote on her lake house. Guess who she said referred her? Lisa. She probably did before we broke up. I stared at the text, smirked, and replied, Sure, happy to help. I build things that last. It felt poetic, building something for a friend of the woman who tried to destroy me. Life has a weird sense of humor like that. I figured that was the final punchline. But Lisa wasn't the type to exit quietly. She was the final act kind of person, the one who can't stand not having the last word. And of course, her version of a last word involved chaos. It happened on a Tuesday. My property manager, Jim, called while I was at a job site. Boss? You might want to come down here. What happened? Your ex is here. Brought a moving truck. Says she's taking her things. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Her things? She didn't own a teaspoon in that house. Jim chuckled nervously. Well, she's trying to take the couch, the dining set, and, the TV. She said she picked them, so they're hers now. Fantastic, I muttered. Did you call the cops? Already here. Thought you might want to show up before they haul her off. Jim had already called the cops to keep the peace. By the time I pulled into the driveway, 2 officers were standing by the door. Lisa stood between them and the moving truck. David, she said sharply, this is ridiculous. I have every right to my things. Your things? You mean the stuff I paid for? She lifted her chin. I lived here. I contributed to this home. That makes it partly mine. I grinned. Oh yeah? How many bricks did you lay? How many invoices did you pay? I'll wait. Don't be condescending, she snapped. I'm not leaving without what's mine. One of the officers asked for her paperwork. She had none. No lease, no name on the deed, no receipts, nothing. I'd kept everything under my business and personal accounts from day one, so legally she had 0 standing. The officer sighed. Ma'am, without proof of ownership or a rental agreement, this isn't your property. Lisa turned red. This is harassment! The officers asked her to step aside while they reviewed her paperwork, or lack thereof. 10 minutes later, they politely told her she had no legal standing. You can take your personal belongings, one said, but the furniture stays. Her eyes darted toward me, full of venom. You're going to regret this. I smiled. Already don't. She left eventually. No couch, no TV, no dignity. 2 days later, my lawyer called. You'll love this, he said. She's filing a claim for partnership rights. Says she contributed emotionally and should be compensated for that. I laughed so hard I had to put the phone down. Emotionally? Is that billable now? Apparently she thinks it is. But don't worry. We're sending proof she declined joint ownership last year. The emails you forwarded me, the ones where she said she didn't want the hassle of paperwork, they end the case before it starts. Sure enough, the claim was dropped within a week. Not even a court date. I thought that was the end of it. Then Karma decided to serve dessert. I heard from a mutual acquaintance that Lisa's company had let her go. Quietly, but very much permanently. Turns out, her executive persona caught up with her. The final straw was when she tried to boss around a regional manager's assistant. Word spread. HR got involved. And just like that, she was out. Fired. The luxury skincare queen was back to square one. I didn't find joy in it, exactly. But I won't lie. I smirked. Sometimes life hands out justice better than any argument ever could. A week later, I ran into her sister, Emma, at a local hardware store. She spotted me near the register and walked over cautiously. Hey, David. Emma, I said, nodding. Didn't expect to see you here. She gave me a small, sheepish smile. Yeah, well, guess who's back on my couch? I raised an eyebrow. Let me guess. She nodded. She's a mess. Lost her job, apartment's too expensive. Her friends stopped talking to her after the rumor thing blew up. She's been crying nonstop. I replied, she did that herself. Emma sighed. You're not wrong. Honestly, I tried to warn her. She was always like this. Like what? Delusional, she said quietly. Always chasing some status, always acting like she was above everyone. She used to call you her manual labor phase. I couldn't help but laugh. Manual labor phase, huh? Guess the manual laborer built more than her career. Emma cracked a smile despite herself. She's still blaming everyone else. You, her boss, the economy, the alignment of the stars. Take your pick. I shrugged. Accountability's heavy. Hard to carry when you're allergic to effort. She snorted, then stopped herself. I probably shouldn't be laughing. It's fine, I said. You're allowed to find it funny. I sure do. We chatted a few more minutes before parting ways. As I walked out, I realized I didn't feel bitterness. No satisfaction, no gloating, just calm. She'd written her own ending, and I didn't even have to lift a pen. No bitterness, no regrets. Just quiet satisfaction, the kind you earn, not post about. Months later, I was finishing up the new house I'd designed, the one that was supposed to be ours. Except now it was entirely mine. Every inch of it was built the way I wanted. Thick stone walls, wide open windows that let the morning light spill in, a space that actually breathed instead of posing. It sat on a hill overlooking the valley, quiet, solid, timeless. Every nail, every beam, every slab of stone had my fingerprints on it. No designer's nonsense, no Pinterest boards, no make it brighter suggestions. Just function, craftsmanship, and peace. The guys on my crew joked that I was treating this project like therapy. They weren't wrong. It was the cleanest kind of therapy there is, one that ends with something permanent. By the time the last wall was done, I'd already moved a few things in. A coffee table I built myself, a couch that didn't squeak, my favorite chair by the fireplace. The house wasn't just standing, it felt alive. Then, one afternoon, while I was fixing up the stone trim near the entrance, I saw a familiar car pull up. Lisa, of course. She got out wearing oversized sunglasses and a look that screamed, I haven't learned a damn thing. Her hair was tied up, makeup layered thick, but she looked rough, like someone who'd been chasing closure and only finding walls. Wow, she said, scanning the house. So this is it, huh? The one you were designing for us? I didn't even look up from the trowel. Correction. The one I built. You were just a temporary consultant. She ignored the jab and walked closer, heels clicking on the driveway. It's beautiful, David. It should have been mine. I finally looked at her and laughed. Yeah, that's what I keep hearing about most of the stuff you lost. Her expression twitched, half insulted, half desperate. You don't get it. I made a mistake. I was stressed. Everyone says things they don't mean. You really can't forgive one comment? One comment? I said, still laying stone. Lisa, if your comments were bricks, I could have built a second house. She folded her arms. You're cruel. No, I said calmly. I'm focused. There's a difference. Her voice cracked. You really don't miss me? I shrugged. Miss what? The arguments? The fake apologies? The career coaching? For a second, she didn't speak. Then her eyes flicked toward the workbench beside me. You think you're better than me now, she said quietly. I think I've always been better for myself, I said. That's when something in her just snapped. Her face twisted, and she grabbed one of the drills from the bench, holding it out like she was in a bad movie. Don't test me, David, she shouted. You think this is funny? I looked at her, looked at the drill, then back at her, and laughed. The thing didn't even have a bit in it, just an empty chuck and a dying battery light blinking red. Lisa, I said, half smiling. You're threatening me with a glorified paperweight. Shut up, she yelled, hands shaking. You ruined everything. I stood up straight, completely calm. You've got 3 seconds to put that down and get off my property before the cops finish the job you started months ago. She froze. I started counting. 3, 2. Before I even got to 1, she dropped the drill and backed away. Fine, she snapped. You'll regret this. You'll realize what you lost. Already did, I said. It was peace. And I got it back. She stomped off, muttering something about what could have been, and sped off in that same car that was probably overdue for payments. I picked up the drill, set it back on the bench, and went back to work. The air was quiet again, just the sound of wind moving through the open frame. Lisa had tried to build a life out of appearances. I built mine out of stone. One crumbled the second it was tested. The other would outlast both of us. I didn't tell anyone about the drill incident. Didn't need to. Some stories are just lessons in disguise. She was the reminder I needed, that not everyone deserves to live in the house you're building. And as the sky dimmed and the first lights came on inside, I realized something simple. Peace isn't found in someone's arms. It's built, brick by brick, when you finally stop handing your tools to the wrong person. YouTube just dropped this new hype feature. If you're hooked on this story, smash that hype button. It tells YouTube this video deserves to blow up, and it keeps even crazier stories coming your way.